heavy metal perspective. From Danzig to Death, to Dark Throne to Dr. Shrinker. Buckle up, things are about to get heavy. This is the Metal Podcast. Let's rock and roll.
All right, welcome back to the Metal Podcast, the number one show where guests have Avengers merchandise in the background. I am AC, and I'm joined by the most lovable co-worker this side of Labor Day. DJ, how are you doing?
I'm great, and I'm hoping to, keep that love going strong, So how are you, AC?
I'm doing great, and we have our first returning guest, and I'd like to say welcome back, Rick, but at the same time, we mention you so often, it's almost like you never left. Rick Ernst, how you doing?
I'm doing just swell, guys. Thank you so much for bringing me back and, for keeping the light on, as they say, for me, all those mentions. Jeez.
Everything good, of course.
Yes.
There's only been two have been negatively.
There you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, some changes have happened since the last time you've been on. So we've incorporated a new segment that we like to do. Is we like to pick a song of the week that we each think is underappreciated. It doesn't have to be a metal song, any song, but I'm actually going to pick a metal song today. I'm going to go with Hell Patrol by Judas Priest. Because I feel like if you ask the average Priest fan, they'll tell you either Sad Wings of Destiny or British Steel is their favorite album, but I think everyone knows secretly Painkiller's the best one. I think we all kind of we just need everyone to just kind of say it out loud. We know it. It's the best production. It's the heaviest. It's the best sounding drums. It's the best guitar playing. Well, I mean,
drums.
Yeah, I mean, as far as for the original Priest lineup, guitar playing goes. And Hell Patrol is a nice, more catchy, but it still has a lot of power to it. It's not the best song on the album, but it's not something I heard brought up a lot, and I don't know how often that's ever incorporated in the live set. So there's mine, Hell Patrol.
See, now you got me thinking of Priest, and I was listening to Ram It Down the other day, and
yes.
Blood Red Skies came on. I was just like, wow.
I love that song.
I love that song, and I haven't heard that song in 20 years, so I'm going to go with Blood Red Skies. Priest.
Okay. So right. I believe that's the second time a song from Ram It Down has been picked on this show.
It has.
What? Who else picked a song off Ram It Down?
I picked Ram It Down. Because I thought that album is such a great transition from Turbo and then going into Painkiller, where I really respect that album, and I think it's just underappreciated in general. But Blood Red Skies is an awesome. It has everything. It's heavy. It's got the great vocals. It's got the what am I trying to say?
It's a good question.
Great tune that I forgot was so great, and that's what's so cool about going to the gym and running for like an hour a couple of times a week. You put these albums on that you can't or don't have time to listen to, and then you discover a forgotten gem.
Yeah. Well,
and you burn and crack calories, right? So it's a win-win.
That too, and so we have a Spotify playlist for all the songs that have been added to our underappreciated segment. So if you wanna add our playlist and just put that on while you're running.
I'm curious. I could be running right out the gym. It's got a high octane. I'm assuming here, right? Maybe.
Yeah, and
for the most part.
And it's funny because there's some songs that I picked them that I couldn't find on Spotify, but one of them I was actually pretty surprised wasn't on Spotify. It's kind of I can see why, but at this point, why not? I picked "We'll Meet Again" by Pantera, and I was kind of surprised that it wasn't on Spotify.
Yeah, that's I'm gonna have to go check that out along with the other songs on the playlist.
Now you've got
just for you guys. I'm gonna actually download Spotify because I don't even have Spotify. I've refused all these years.
But just get it for this playlist, this ever growing living playlist.
course. That's what I'm going to do. Absolutely.
And hopefully it'll make you run faster, longer.
Yeah. It's not that hard to make that happen, but
It's hard to make me do that.
Yeah, it is true. All right, so I got one that AC, you're gonna love it, and then you're gonna hate me for it. So
what else is
something I do best? I never disappointed in that regard. But anyways, I was watching the new season of Dexter, and a song came on, a Danzig song came on, Long Way Back from Hell, and I'm like,
Okay.
you know what? I went back and listened to the Danzig discography. I haven't done that in a long time, but I was gonna pick something else. But like, you know what? It's a new show, so to speak, and they used a Danzig song. It's actually a pretty cool part of the episode. Not, I do have nostalgia for that series, but at the same time, like, why not have a Danzig song in that show? So I thought that was pretty cool that they used a Danzig song. They played a lot of it.
It wasn't Mother?
It wasn't Mother, exactly.
oh, yes.
Yeah, you can't. So I don't think I picked a Danzig song. My running joke is that AC's picked like 5 Danzig adjacent songs. So
It's not a running joke. You made that joke one time, you idiot. That's why I'm hating you for this. You can't even keep our lore straight.
right.
When you're talking about Dexter and TV series, I don't know if you guys have seen Alien Earth.
I saw
But,
the first episode.
Listen, I love the series. First episode, if you can get through it, it's a little cold, a little depressing, but if you get through it and they set up the story, it's awesome. If you get to the end of the first episode, you get an awesome Sabbath track featuring, you can't see it. Mob Rules is above my head, but in any event, the soundtrack for the credits at the end.
Yeah. It's Mob Rules. Yeah, I do remember that.
Mob Rules. I don't want to ruin it for anybody.
Yeah. Because I thought that was bold. Because I watched that show just completely on a whim. Yeah. And then I hear the. I was like, what? No way. And then it went in.
And then he did it again, ending on a metal note. Episode 2, 3, 4, and I was like, okay, I'm in now just for the credits alone. I love the series, but having a metal finish, really extra credit for that.
All right, I'll pick that one up. So, is your song actually "Long Way Back from Hell," or is this the twist where I hate you? You're gonna pick like something really crappy from?
No, I'll pick "Long Way Back from Hell."
Okay,
I'll take that one.
Now, why would I hate you for that pick? That's the best song on that album.
It is.
And that album is all good songs.
Because I know how much you love Dexter.
I do hate Dexter. That show sucks, man. That show is so bad. Oh my goodness.
I still watch it.
You know what? You've watched worse things, so I won't hold that one against you.
I appreciate that. Hey, it led us to Danzig, so let me rediscover Danzig.
I'll take the W.
Take it where you can.
So, Rick, how has the next what is this show called? It's not the First 48. It's like a spinoff. What is this one?
It's called After the First 48.
After the First 48.
Yeah, it's one of the many TV shows that I've worked on since we last spoke. I actually finished up on that and went to work on some other stuff last summer. A year ago, I was in Arizona and Vegas. Lovely time of year to be in Arizona and Nevada, August. Beautiful 120 degree weather. Basically for an MMA series following fighters, in different aspects. Basically, most of them were trying to just get up and running off the ground and break big. They wanted to get to the UFC and followed them around. And worked on that show, was a pilot, also worked on a show just finished up called My Strange Arrest for A&E. It's basically people doing the dumbest things you can imagine to get themselves arrested.
Oh, dear.
That sounds like a show that me and the wife would like to watch that one. I think she'll enjoy that recommendation.
So that was lots of different things. It runs the gamut. The one thing that's been steady throughout all this is a show called On Patrol Live, which is on Friday and Saturday nights. If you think of the TV show Cops, Everybody's seen Cops, right?
Yeah.
If you think Cops meets NFL Red Zone, where they only show you the touchdowns and the field goals and the really important scoring stuff. It's kind of those two shows combined together. Essentially, it's live every Friday and Saturday, and we follow different cops in different cities live, and we only go to the good stuff. Somebody being pursued in a vehicle at 120 miles an hour, somebody being tased, somebody being taken down like in a foot pursuit.
Good.
And it's amazing because every week you don't know what's going to happen when you walk into the studio. So that's the show that I've been working on for about 5-6 years now.
Okay.
So
I thought they had kind of canceled it for a little while.
Yeah, it was originally called Live PD, and it was on AD, and it was canceled. What was it, 2021, 2022?
Like that, yeah.
It came back and was reborn as On Patrol Live.
Oh, okay.
And now it's on Reels. So
Nice.
It's back and crazier than ever.
I love that show. All right, let's go back to Tennessee with that traffic stop.
Exactly.
They're like, all right, this is taking too long. No one's been punched yet. Let's go back to the search and seizure. these prostitutes or whatever.
Yep.
So would you say it's a pretty popular show?
I would say it's a pretty popular show. Yeah, certainly for Reels, which a lot of people don't even know what Reels is. It is a TV channel, and it's the highest rated show on that channel, and it does very well. When it was on A&E, which has a broader reach, it was typically the number 1 or 2 show every Friday and Saturday night. So it's popular. It's not as popular. I think that's only because the channel that it's on doesn't have the reach that A&E had. It's fun. You got to watch. It's a lot of fun.
So would you be surprised if a top brass just came in tomorrow and just said, yeah, we're not doing this show anymore?
I would not be surprised. No.
You wouldn't be surprised?
I would not be surprised just because it's a live show. Anything can happen. My greatest fear is that we were in a city and we get, the mayor gets pulled over and the mayor gets arrested and gets tased.
Oh, fair enough.
That causes some kerfuffle and, drama, and it ripples up the food chain to somebody that's really important, and then they decide to pull the plug. That was always my biggest fear. That did not happen, and hopefully it never happens. But I would not be surprised because there's so many things, crazy things, legal things that are beyond scope of a conversation here that could happen to shut the show down. Like there's a lot of legalities involved in showing people on camera, in different and sometimes difficult situations.
So that would be more for this type of show. But what if it was like a show like 90 Day Fiance? And it was like doing well, and like the ratings were high, and there's no controversies, and the top brass just said, "Yeah, we're just canceling the show." Would that surprise you?
That would surprise me, and that would immediately lead me to believe that somebody on the show did something that scared advertisers off. Because as long as you have advertisers on the show paying to support the show, there's really no reason to cancel it. If you have decent ratings and you have ad support, you're good. The only thing that can ruin that is if somebody, a cast member or a crew member, does something stupid, is convicted of, the most heinous crime you can imagine, you name it. That'll get your show canceled, no matter what the ratings and no matter how much ad revenue you're bringing in.
DJ, you know where I'm going with this?
I do.
Do you want to take over from here?
No, I think you're doing just fine.
Okay. So, this is something that we've discussed. So at the height of metal's popularity, why did they pull the plug on metal at MTV?
I didn't pull the plug, so I can only...
You didn't, but you were there when the plug was pulled.
I can only guess. Part of it probably was ratings. At the time, Headbangers Ball was pulled off the air. There was a slow switch over from playing music videos to trying reality shows. So the music video shows were dying first and foremost. The metal genre, I think, was always looked at as like the, bastard stepchild, and it was falling out of favor. Alternative music, shows like 120 minutes, Alternative Nation. They were perceived, I think, by the people working there in the programming department as cooler and more cutting edge. And metal was looked at as something, so 4, 5, 8 years ago. It was a dinosaur. So I would say that it was basically a new wave of music that was coming in. MTV trying to be cutting edge. They wanted to ride that wave. They jumped off the heavy metal wave and onto the new wave alternative wave. I think that was the beginning of the end of metal at MTV. Again, I think most of the people in the programming department didn't know their Sepultura from from their
Sublime.
From their Sublime. That's it. I was looking for an alternative S band. You knew exactly where I was going with it.
Yeah, well, that was the first S band that popped into my head, sadly. But when you think about like the popularity of metal, obviously the heyday of metal was like 1987 or something. But if you look at those years, that's better for people like us that like that classic thrash or like the early death metal and whatnot. But that stuff wasn't that popular. It was still really niche. Like, and Justice for All was a big seller. I actually have never really looked at the numbers for Judas Priest and Iron Maiden. I would assume that they were relatively high consistently. But like Exodus never, I don't think they ever had a gold record. I don't think Testament ever had a gold record, let alone the platinum records.
I think Testament did with Practice What You Preach. That album exploded.
I thought they sold 100,000 copies, which was big for them. Maybe they had a gold record.
They might have been one of the closest.
Yeah, because maybe they did. I had it in my mind like they were almost there, like they were successful for who they were, but Exodus never hit that. Sepultura never hit that. Slayer may have with Seasons of the Abyss, but for the most part, metal didn't really pick up until the early 90s. It wasn't until the Black Album, Countdown to Extinction, even though it's not a metal band, but still it's the same people look at it that way. Use Your Illusion. Slave to the Grind. Like, it really wasn't till the early 90s that they hit their stride. So it was around this time when they really broke through that glass ceiling that they pulled the plug.
If I would recall, I started there in 93. Headbangers was still on the air, and in 94 is when the plug was pulled on Headbangers. So by 94 is when metal kind of started vanishing from MTV. And again, I think the difference between 91 and 94 was pretty significant. If you look at like Skid Row being a great example, love Skid Row, Slave to the Grind, amazing album, sold a ton. And then what was it? Subhuman Race was the follow-up, if I'm not mistaken.
Possibly.
Yes. But it didn't sell quite. The follow-up did not sell like Slave to the Grind, and I think that just is a perfect example of why MTV started jumping off the metal bandwagon. They just looked elsewhere for cutting edge, cool music, stuff that they thought viewers would be more interested in.
Or is it possible that they just stopped promoting them? Because like I can't name a song from that album, but what were they putting into like heavy airplay? Because I want to say Enter Sandman is the number 2 most played video on MTV. So clearly there was some order given to like keep Metallica on. Because 94, you say that's when metal started to die. Well, that's the year that Load came out. So I can see a nice parallel there.
I would, when I think back to that time, I think U2, REM, Soul Asylum. I'm just trying to think of the bands who were playing. I actually worked on 120 Minutes after Headbangers Ball. And at first, it was like a born-again Christian being told you're now going to worship in, the house of Satan. Mr. Crowley is your reverend. But it was great because it was a musical learning experience for me. It really opened my mind to listening to different music and not just metal. And I think that's a good thing for anybody to be exposed to different genres. So, but working on 120 minutes at that time, that's what I remember. Some of the bands that we think of now that are pretty big, they were kind of just, breaking, around 94. Then U2 probably was a little bit too big for 120 minutes, but those are the types of bands and music that the channel was sort of moving to. But also you have to think about the time. Green Day is another example of a band.
I think Green Day is a better example because U2 is an 80s band, even though they started in the 70s. They have that 80s modern rock sound, like U2, Depeche Mode, The Smiths. It's like that type of thing. REM, I would say there too.
MTV also was playing a lot of hip hop. You had the East Coast feud going on. You had, Dre and Snoop and Ice Cube on the West Coast. And you had, Biggie, Diddy, Nas, and a lot of other East Coast rappers. And that was getting heavily pushed as well. So I think it was alternative and hip hop that replaced metal because it's a music channel, 24 hours to fill, not 26, 27. So, they filled it with music that was not metal.
I think what they probably did was they just decided that they didn't want to serve it on the menu anymore. I think because I don't think the popularity went away and then they cut it. It sounds like they cut it because like they decided this is what we want to be popular.
I think that's probably partially correct. If I think back to the people working in the programming department that were scheduling the videos, I think they were more inclined to go to a Green Day show than a Slayer show. There's no doubt about that. So they're programming what they like and what they think is cool. At the end of the day, they're also programming what's going to sell in terms of advertising. It's all about advertising. Like if Headbangers Ball is not getting enough advertisers, diverse advertisers, there's a problem. You have to find, you got to be able to pay for these shows. And if they weren't getting the proper advertisers for a metal show, they're going to cancel the metal show. It's as simple as that. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying I was there. It stung. It hurt. I was pissed. I worked there. Mm-hmm. I'll never forget one story I can tell you is I went to the programming department when Nuno Betancourt had his first solo album out. I still love that album, Nuno's solo album. And I begged and pleaded and said, it's got like a lot of like Lemonheads kind of flavor to it, but it's got like a rock and a punk vibe to it. Like it's not really like rock, but it's more like alternative rock. It's kind of exactly what we're looking for, right down the middle. It's nothing, nothing. It's like talking to a wall. So I like, that was one moment where I remembered really, really trying hard to get something on air. It was pointless. Like the producers had no say, and the VJs, we talked about Ricky last time. Ricky Rackman had no say what was going on air. But that was one band, one artist that I fought pretty hard for. And then after that, working on 120 minutes, there was no chance we were playing anything heavy. But Matt Pinfield and I conjured up this way we were able to kind of get some cool stuff in, heavier stuff at the end of the show during the credits. We spoke about Alien Earth. They're playing heavy metal in the credits, 120 minutes. The credits came on. We always knew that we had like a minute or a minute and a half of the credits. And we used that time to play, videos, only a minute and a half of the video, but, the new video from the Misfits in 1995, the new video from, whatever heavier bands that kind of went down the middle. But the Misfits were one that I remember vividly playing. And we would try to sneak stuff under the radar in the credits. And that was our way of kind of like, F you, we're going to play some metal in 120 minutes.
We may not get the full thing, but we get a little bit.
Yeah.
That'll show them.
Yeah, it was the best we could do, without getting fired.
You're like the Wojak with the happy face on it, but behind you're crying. Like that's you and Matt Pinfield. It's fine, I got my medal.
That was great for that, being a partner in crime and agreeing to this little punk rock subterfuge at the end of the show. We're trying to sneak stuff on. So it's fun. It was good times.
Well, and a weird thing about that is I don't know. I don't remember if we did talk about this last time. I don't think we did. We may have. but like the new metal boom, because like there was a desert of metal, but from 92 to like probably 98 or 99, and then just new metal just kind of exploded. But it was just kind of like, oh, we decided we're not doing metal anymore, but this is okay for some reason, which and then I think this is like the Sepultura versus Sublime thing. Like these guys can't tell the difference between, Limp Bizkit and Def Leppard. So like, what gives to that rise?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is that there were no guitar solos in a Limp Bizkit or a Korn song. There was a different way of delivering the lyrics. For Limp Bizkit, it certainly was rapping the lyrics, right? Rhyming the lyrics. So that was different. Didn't feel as metal because you don't have a guitar solo. You have different style lyrics that are almost born out of the music they've been playing. Like we talked about Snoop and Dre, Ice Cube, and all those artists. They kind of had an influence on new metal. So it was more almost like a connection between hip hop they were playing, and here's like a hip hop metal kind of bastardized version that like is more familiar to our audience who we've been feeding Snoop and Dre to. Maybe this will work, and to some extent it did. Like working at MTV at the time, to see Korn and Limp Bizkit on TRL next to Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera.
The Backstreet Boys.
Yeah, listen. I was happy that there was any semblance of metal on that show. So I couldn't believe it. Puddle of Mud. I remember another band, Puddle of Mud. Are they metal or are they rock? What are they? But they were in this countdown, this TRL countdown that was just saturated with boy bands and pop rock. So at that time it was like, for me, I appreciated it in terms of like, I would much rather hear Korn than Backstreet Boys, So, funny thing, Korn and System of a Down played 2 nights here in New York, New Jersey. 70,000 people, 2 nights in a row to see Korn and System of a Down, which to me is just like mind blowing that they're that popular, but they are. Even more mind-blowing is that the guys in System of a Down didn't kill each other before the show ended.
Are they like Oasis or the Kink style? I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes. Yes.
Oh, I did not know that. That's interesting.
Yeah. But maybe after, seeing 70,000 people 2 nights in a row.
So just or that paycheck from that.
Yeah, your paycheck, but just seeing the fans out there, that it says something. You put your differences aside because your music has, meant a lot to a lot of people. So, in any event,
but it is funny though that you say like you'd rather hear that stuff than the Backstreet Boys. And like I'm the complete opposite. I feel I just feel like those bands are just such a. Like not even like a table scraps. Like they're like crumbs of like a Ritz cracker. Like here, you filthy idiot. Here's your metal. Oh, they're rapping? Too bad. The guitar's distorted. It's what you like, you stupid long-haired hippie. Go take a shower.
That was just it. It's just that those heavy guitars, you're never going to get that in the Backstreet Boys sing song. So you know what? If that's all I'm going to have to eat tonight, Korn, Limp Bizkit, I'll take it. Again.
Oh, you're going to eat a Korn and a Limp Bizkit.
If you're watching MTV or you're working at MTV, you're not getting anything else. Obviously, inside at home, I'm buying all the heaviest stuff I can find. So.
Yeah, it's kind of weird to me, kind of going back to 1994 specifically, is when Euthanasia came out for Megadeth. And that actually sold pretty darn well. And then it's interesting too that when Dystopia came out in 2016, that actually sold, almost just as well. So I'm trying to look up the numbers here. That looks like Euthanasia.
Well, it's probably skewed just because there's like streaming is taken
streaming,
into
yeah.
account, like where they do like they probably don't Nielsen sound scan.
Right. So I feel like, kind of like what Rick's saying, like, hey, we want to have like a heavy guitar, I was actually at the Orange County Fair recently, and I noticed a few guys wearing Emperor shirts and Death shirts. I even saw a Death shirt today.
See, those are the things that you look out for. You don't look for Metallica or Iron Maiden. You look for like the ones that are like a step below that, even though Emperor's a few steps below.
Right.
Like one or two.
I still think there's people just need that what would you call that, raw aggression in the music with that like with like it's almost like the Blood Red Skies, where it's got the melodic is what I was trying to say earlier, which I forgot, but it's got.
You forget a lot of things.
I do, and I even forget the point of this. But
yeah, just keep rambling and you'll remember.
Exactly, I'll find my way somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, the T-shirt thing. It's interesting. I went to see a Bee Gees tribute band the other night.
Oh, that's what I like to hear.
A heavy metal tribute to Bee Gees.
That took a turn that I was not expecting.
In other words, the band's called Tragedy, and they basically do heavy metal versions of Bee Gees songs and other songs. So if you ever wanted to hear "Staying Alive," like Ozzy covered "Staying Alive," but if you ever want to hear like the almost death metal, thrash metal versions of songs like that, look up the band Tragedy, Bee Gees tribute band. In any event, what I was getting at is that immediately I walked in and I saw a dude with a DRI shirt on, and I felt at home. So I'm thinking, I don't know how I'm feeling about this. I'm here to see a Bee Gees cover band. I shouldn't be here because it's the Bee Gees, but it's heavy metal, thrash metal versions of these songs. So it's, I guess maybe it's kind of cool. And the guys could really, really play. I mean, it was a fun, funny show. It's almost like a Steel Panther-esque type show. And the guys were great musicians. And there's a dude wearing a DRI shirt sitting right next to me. So I felt a little bit more at home when I sat down. They also were playing at a place here in New York, upstate New York, called Daryl's House, which is the venue owned by Daryl Hall of Hall & Oates fame. Mm-hmm. So this thrash metal guy went to see a Bee Gees cover band at a place owned by Daryl Hall of Hall & Oates.
The greatest soul singer of all time.
I hope my street cred just didn't fall off the cliff here.
I don't think so. Well, and this day and age, you got to take what you can get. But I just remember like always seeing like the guy in the metal shirt, like not the Iron Maiden, not the Metallica, like the real, like I don't want to say underground because that sounds pretentious and stupid, but like the like real metal bands. Not that Metallica isn't a real metal band. I mean that's basically a commercial. But Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, like more commercial bands. And I always feel like the guy from American History X in the prison scene, like he's like, oh, I gotta wave the flag out when he takes his shirt off. Like that's how I feel when I see the metal guys out. But I went and saw Children of Bodom with Trivium and Amon Amarth. Now this is when nobody knew who Amon Amarth was, so they were the opening act. And I don't consider Children of Bodom like a real metal band. They're like they're too poppy. Like what's like Avenged Sevenfold. I put them in the same category as that. They're like kind of still like an MTV band. But I had nothing better to do that night, so I was just like, whatever, I'll just go see this band. And most of the people were there to see either Trivium or Children of Bodom. I saw a bunch of Trivium, Children of Bodom, and like various like Job for a Cowboy. Like this new way, this like dead metal, like just, it was like these forced memes that never caught on. And then I saw one random guy in a Mayhem shirt. And then that was the guy like I locked eyes with, and I just kind of gave him like just like everyone else, like I was wearing an Exodus shirt, that like just everyone else there. Like I did leave like while like Children of Bodom was like wrapping up. I was like, I just don't care. I don't care what anyone says. That band is not good. They have a few good songs. That guy can play guitar, but he cannot write songs. I mean, not anymore. But like, he was not a songwriter. He was a dude that learned how to play solos and just all of this, just no riffs. And he paints his nails and just.
Well, it's interesting. You walk into a show with an Exodus shirt on, you think you're going to have the heaviest shirt on in the building, and you got immediately schooled because the Mayhem dude is there. Immediately, at least 2, 3, maybe your top 5 now with your Exodus shirt. So that it's always
I didn't think that it was going to be a room full of like Hot Topic kids. I thought there might be like metal people there. I was like, this is a metal show. Like, come on, I don't care that it's Thursday.
like, listen, there's, a little bit of thought goes into this. I'm going to see a Bee Gees tribute band, but there's a heavy metal thing going on there. And I'm like, what shirt do I wear here? I chose
Taylor
Volbeat.
Swift.
I chose Volbeat, and I try to play it right down the middle.
I see. Well, yeah, I think that's different because like a Bee Gees tribute band, that's more tongue in cheek.
Mm-hmm.
Where I think like the bands that I saw, like I think Amon Amarth was easily the best band on that bill, but they were the least known band. People were there to see the other two bands, and those were bands that people took seriously. So DJ and I, we knew these gentlemen years ago, and they took Dragon Force seriously.
Wow.
Like that's when you get to like real caved in head hours. Like they're like you forget that people like that, like they grew up on that Korn and Limp Bizkit diet. So like they hear Dragon Force and like this is the greatest musical achievement of all time.
That is a leap that is very difficult to make from Limp Bizkit to Dragon Force.
Well, when you hear Limp Bizkit, but then you hear Dragon Force, like you think like, oh, this is real metal. Like that's the leap that you make is like because you were deprived of the basics. Like you didn't have Black Sabbath, Iron Maiden, Metallica. Instead, you get like other distorted guitars because you only have access to what is available to you. Now there's no excuse. You have access to literally anything and everything. So if you want to find it, you can find it. But back then, like you had what you had. And if you didn't have $12 to go to Warehouse or Tower Records or whatever physical media stores were, and then just gamble like this cover looks cool. Well, good luck, buddy. Like you're stuck with your sister's Bay City Rollers mixtape. Enjoy. So
reference. I was not expecting that.
Hey, this show has everything.
It does.
This was a 7-hour interview or a 17-hour interview. Bay City Rollers was not something I'd be expecting.
Well, that's why I brought it up.
Yeah.
Like people need to hear about it. Like, I mean, it's Sunday, but you all need to know what I'm doing on Saturday night.
Right, we got Bay City Rollers and the Bee Gees on. DJ, you're next. You're gonna have to throw something in at some point.
What's a good beat for you, DJ?
Naturally, of course, very naturally.
I do want to hear a thrash version of More Than a Woman, so I will look up Tragedy.
Well, I wasn't listening. DJ, you want to give a thrashing to something more than a woman? What?
Exactly, yes.
Okay,
yes,
good.
Always. It is the weekend. We've got a few more hours left. And it's a holiday, so it's a long weekend.
That's true.
It is.
Yeah, and so we had this guy on a while ago. Like, we don't need to say his name, but he's let's just call him some bloated toad monster. And he was...
Gets me every time.
But anyway, so he said that the reason that the grunge bands exploded is because these record executives, I don't know if you've ever heard this before, but he said that they were going to Seattle because that was a hot spot for sex trafficking.
Now, I was shaking my head. I was going to say a hot spot for bands. I do not know anything about hot spots.
So This is what this guy claimed, and he said
that Rob Flynn was the heart of thrash, and when Rob quit violence, that was the end of thrash. Is this the same guy?
No. I don't think so. I would be very hard. So this guy, you know who he is by name, possibly by reputation. He was in one of the most classic old school heavy metal bands. He's
for a little bit.
On a few occasions, he was fired, but they brought him back. But yeah, this was a claim that he made, and it was there that they coincidentally discovered all these grunge bands. So it wasn't just that those bands were popular. That was just a complete accident while these degenerates were just doing unthinkable things.
Okay.
First time hearing this?
First time hearing this. Certainly would disagree because I can say I think the first of the grunge bands I probably saw was Alice in Chains opening for Extreme, and they had just been signed, but like you could immediately tell that they were amazing. So.
Well, I want to stop you real quick on that one. Alice in Chains is the outlier for grunge. Like that's the grunge band that like people that hate grunge like.
Right.
Like because they were originally a thrash band, but they were on the Monsters of Rock tour. So like Alice in Chains has always kind of been that outlier. Like compare them to like Mudhoney or like things like that, where like bands that went nowhere. Like had Lane Staley just gotten clean during Grind or not Grind? What's that album called? The one with the it's just called Alice in Chains. No, yeah, the opening track is great. Like had he got clean there, I think that band would have still like kept making records and would have stayed popular. They would have been like the '90s Depeche Mode, I think.
And of course, they are still making albums.
Well, they're now making albums. Yeah.
Yeah. The singer sounds exactly like Lane. It's incredible. And the albums are pretty good too. Again, not the same thing, but
they're
it's
older. Jerry's older.
Pretty impressive comeback. I would say that.
Yeah, but they did lose a lot of momentum because they stopped having the airplay behind them. But yeah, I think they would have maintained most of it. Because
Seattle. I'm just my head's still trying to wrap around.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Seattle sex trafficking. I don't know. My first bet would probably be San Francisco or L.A.
Right. That it sounded weird to me that it was specifically Seattle of all places. Like, because I don't know if Seattle is known for like good prostitutes or something. I don't like it. The claim was strange to me. The guy is a lunatic. Like it goes without saying. I'm just gonna name drop him because it's funny. It was Craig Goldie.
Okay, Craig Goldie. Brief moment at the Rainbow in LA once. Okay.
Oh, how was that?
It seemed like a pretty normal encounter, you know.
It started that way for us too. Yeah, I think he's crazy for other reasons, but that was a claim that he made, and it was something like, well, I could see him possibly being in a position where he may have had like something like in the know where people like, I don't know, like he knew someone that was a fly on the wall or something. Cause Dio was a big band in the 80s.
Right,
so,
right.
But again, he is like, he's not crazy cause he made that claim. He's crazy for the other things that he does. But that is the claim of a man that I believe to be having some screws loose.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yes.
Should listen to the other things.
Makes for a great guest, right?
Well, I mean, do you like? I see an Avengers lunchbox behind you. I don't know if it's a lunchbox, but is that a lunchbox?
It is. This is a Thanos.
Okay.
Thanos.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Okay. So do you like movies or do you like comic books?
I like movies.
Okay. Do you like bad movies?
Probably not. I would say probably not.
Okay. Well, because I would say Craig Goldie is like a bad movie that you watch where you didn't enjoy it, but like you're going back and you had a lot to talk about with it. So that's kind of how I think of it, where like I'm kind of mixed about it, where like DJ and I, like it was a headache. Like I promise you, it is a headache. Yeah. But he's still talking about us on YouTube in comments. I'm not kidding. Like he's probably leaving a comment right now.
Listen, any publicity is good, right? Exactly. So like, get Craig Goldie out there working for you. There you go.
I mean, well, we're working for him too. One hand washes the other, as they say.
I was gonna say, Craig Goldie, I don't think I've heard that name in a long time. So you guys are keeping his name alive. And,
we're doing our part.
We're the most publicity he'll ever get.
Yeah.
Especially in this day and age. But yeah, that was a claim where it was like, because it was Seattle, I thought like that's weird, but it wouldn't surprise me that there was an AstroTurf movement behind the grunge movement, because I think Alice in Chains is a genuinely great band. Like, I haven't heard their new stuff, but everything from the Lane Staley era is all solid. Like, I can't name a bad song from those first 4 releases. And not counting Unplugged, which also is great. But like Pearl Jam sucks. I don't care what anyone says. They have a few good songs, but that band sucks. Like Mudhoney sucks. Like, no one wants to be like grunge bands. Like, there's no grunge bands popping up. There still are metal bands, which is a point we've brought up millions of times. People are still.
People stopped going to Seattle. Has the sex trade died out? Is that why no bands from Seattle are getting signed, or fewer bands are getting signed? What happened?
Or maybe they the secret got out, and then they wanted too much money, so they started going to like New York or Chicago. Like, where's Taylor Swift from, or Olivia Rodrigo? Where are these girls from? All right, I got another conspiracy for you. Have you heard this one, that the Pussycat Dolls is also like a sex trafficking act?
I'm completely out of this sex trafficking loop.
So this one is one of the girls in it has made that claim. Like, she claimed that the main girl, Nicole Scherzinger, is like, she's like the singer, and like she is the Pussycat Dolls, and the rest of them are basically there to be fed to like executives, and then like they're given like a tiny percentage of what Scherzinger was given. Like, she was given like, the $1 million check or whatever, and then the rest of them, like, well, you get to be in front of all the tens of thousands of people every night. And then so this is her claim, and other people have made this claim as well.
I think the craziest claim is they're playing in front of tens of thousands of people.
I agree.
I thought they're playing at the Whiskey in front of 300 people.
I don't know. Well, maybe like Coachella, they do like a festival like that, like once every 5 years or something. Because a lot of these acts, I do wonder how they are so popular.
Right. Yeah, it all comes down to the sex trafficking again. I guess that's what apparently.
But is it so surprising that like top brass CEOs would be like degenerates doing degenerate things? So like, whether it's true or not, it's still believable that people are in positions of power are doing uncouth things. So it's possible that mountains from molehills, where someone did something and then telephone turned it into Seattle sex trafficking.
I would say that a lot of these executives lived in LA or New York, right, where the record labels were located. And it would be a lot easier to just go to the seedy neighborhood, 42nd Street and 10th Avenue in New York, for example. And then you can get whatever you need there, as opposed to taking a 6-hour flight to Seattle, getting a rental car, getting a hotel. So I'm going to dispute Craig Goldie's claim here with that logic. Just logistically, it just doesn't seem to be the wisest decision. So,
well, you heard it here. All right. You've been called out, Craig Goldie. Rick Ernst is calling you out. You toad-faced. I'm not going to say it.
No, you want to.
I do. I really do. But Craig's a good guy.
Yeah, that's great. We still talk about him.
We do. Craig's number 2 behind Rick.
Then Craig did his job, right? You're still talking about Craig.
That's what I'm saying. It's like a bad. It's like So you had I don't know what your shirt is. First, I thought it was Star Wars. I was going to ask, you like Star Wars?
Anyway.
Well, do you like Star Wars?
What do I like Star Wars?
Yeah.
I like Star Trek better, but I do like Star Wars.
Oh, now you're speaking my language. Yeah, but I was gonna say like the Star Wars prequels. Like people talked about those forever, even though like everyone hated them. So it's kind of a similar thing.
Yeah, listen, if you have a movie out, you'd rather people love the movie or hate the movie. To be indifferent, that's the worst. At least if you hate it, people are talking about it. They love it. People are loving it, talking about it. If they're indifferent, they never even mention it after they watch it. So it's something to be said. You got to be one or the other, hated or loved, nothing in between.
How do you feel about Star Trek V?
Star Trek Five. I don't think I even saw Star Trek Five. I
Really?
love New Worlds, the new season that's on Paramount Plus. Have you watched Strange New Worlds?
No, I did the 3 seasons of Picard. I almost killed myself during the second season. The third
Yes.
season was great, and that after the 2 episodes, I pulled the shotgun out of my mouth. But luckily, that was great. But the first 2 seasons of that and Discovery it was so bad that I was just like, all right, so I'm gonna wait until like a change in the guard.
Right.
Like so I have heard good things about Strange New Worlds.
New World's really, really good. I highly recommend it. Discovery and Picard were both disappointing for different reasons.
Oh yeah.
New Worlds is not disappointing. It's surprisingly good every week. I really enjoyed it.
I'm blown away you haven't seen Star Trek 5. That's crazy.
Refresh my memory. I don't even know like what 5 was. What was the premise? I mean,
that was the one with
all these different timelines. I started just like,
well, five is infamous. That's the one where Spock's half brother is trying to find God in space, like the physical manifestation. Yeah, it's the one. It's the really bad one. It's.
You know about the most recent, the originals and the original sequence you're talking about.
Yeah, that's with the original crew, like
Undiscovered.
Leonard Nimoy and
I don't remember. I don't even. They start to blur in my mind now between which was 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well,
3 was the whale, right, which is one of my favorites.
4 is the whales.
4 is the whales.
Yes, that's a great movie.
It is.
I love that movie. 3 is the one with the Klingons where they have to find dead. Well, it's not like dead Spock, but like his body, like he turned into a baby, and they had to put his consciousness from Dr. McCoy back into it, like at the right time, because he was on the Genesis planet. Well, obviously you remember which one 2 is.
Yep.
Okay, and 1 was the one with V'ger.
Yeah. He was. Yeah.
Yeah, and 6 is the one with the mystery.
I don't think when we start talking about 5 and 6, I start getting lost until we get into the Next Generation movies, which I loved all of them. I know there were some that people hated, but like
Generations is really bad.
I love Next Generation, the cast so much that I'll just take whatever they give me. I'm good.
That was how I felt when I first saw Generations. I was like, I don't care. It's like it's, and I like the look of it. It still feels like Star Trek, and I do like the First Contact because I like the look of the Borg, and I like all the visual effects, and it's like it's not an expensive movie. We were talking. We had a guest on, and we were talking about the cost of licensing songs.
Oh yeah.
And I was talking to my girlfriend about this yesterday because she brought that up because she says now she can't not think about that when she hears a licensed song, and she's watching The Summer I Turned Pretty because she's a girl and they watch those kinds of shows. And she said 4 songs that were big songs, and then she looked up how much it would cost approximately, and it was about $800,000 to $1.5 million just to use those specific songs in an episode of a TV show. And just like, have you ever worked with a budget like that, Rick?
No, but I do think every time I hear a song, how much this is costing. Yes, I do.
Yeah, and just like doing 4.
Would get thrashed. I had to deal with it, not with millions and hundreds of thousands of dollars, but like, that was the main cost mainly of the film, really, because I was filming everything, editing everything myself, along with Rat Skates, who was helping with the editing. But the music licensing is it's a doozy. Even when you're doing a documentary on these bands to give them props, it's not necessarily the bands you're dealing with. You're dealing with record label people who don't care about creator is going to get props in this movie and maybe sell a few extra albums. They want the money up front.
Yeah, because you were giving them free advertising, free
Yes.
exposure. That's interesting. That I guess it makes sense with those big bands that you were working with, because
Well,
Yeah,
that's
and,
why
and
you sign those bands, so you can get those checks when inevitably some guy who just loves the genre wants to make a documentary about it. Oh yeah, let's squeeze him dry.
and a lot of times I had to go, directly to the bands and try to get them to rally to the cause and like call the label up and like push things forward. Like Mille from Creator is a good example. I talked to him. I was like, listen, man, Metallica, the guys in Metallica, like, were so cool. Like, mega stars are like, hey, give this dude a break. He's making an indie film. Let him use the music for, most favored nations, which is basically saying that everybody's going to get paid the same amount. Metallica, Creator, we all get the same amount, except for Creator. I believe it was Sony owned the rights, and they were like, yeah, we want like 5 times as much as what everybody else is getting. What?
It's like, you're creator, not the creator.
Yeah, exactly. So, in any event, I totally think about songs, how many and who they're using, and what the budget must be all the time. And that's born out of Get Thrashed and how much money and how much time and effort it took to get the licensing agreements done for the music you hear in the film.
Yeah, for us, that person was telling us that it costs, I think, 10% of the film's budget. Now, for you, it sounds like it was probably more like 90% of your budget.
Yeah, it was. I would say it's probably 75%.
75. Wow, yeah. So
well, and that's crazy to think. Like,
again, when I talk about budget, it's the other part of the budget is production. Production was myself. I mean, I was filming, I was doing everything, and again, Rat Skates was helping with the editing, but it really was a DIY, is a DIY as you can possibly imagine.
Well, yeah, it's kind of what we were talking about, before we started. Is you would get these interviews, on top of roofs, like we were talking about, or just let's go until we get kicked out.
Wherever we could steal a location that we didn't have to pay for.
Instant production.
Yeah. You're talking about, DJ Will. I was in a hotel in LA right down the block from the Rainbow. I said, we're going to go up to the roof. We're going to film this interview. Probably got about 30, 40 minutes before somebody realizes we're up there and says, you got to leave. Let's go. And that's how we did it, and that's how most of the interviews were done.
Do you like The Terminator?
Yes.
So I remember hearing this story from it. It's the like early on in the movie where where Arnold steals a car and like he busts the window, and I'd heard that they shot that guerrilla style. So, and then they were like, okay, we have to be quick here because we have this 7'5" giant man busting the window of a station wagon and stealing it while he's dressed like someone who just got back from a Fear concert. Because you need, like, permits aren't cheap, and like you need to get insurance to do it too. There's so much red tape for doing it. It's like, I have a camera and this guy is talking to me, like, really? Like, no one knows it's your building, and no one's ever going to know it's brick or it's like drywall. It all looks the same. It's all the same.
I don't even know how they do it these days. I mean, it's been a long time since I've done an independent film shooting in clubs and whatnot, but it was difficult 20 years ago making Get Thrashed. And now, of course, everybody's got a phone or a camera and whatnot. They want to film the band, they're behind the scenes. I don't even know how you navigate that, because every venue now is hip to it, right? They know that somebody's coming in to film for the band. We could charge and make some money off this production. We could charge them a fee to film here at the venue.
I feel like it's kind of a double-edged sword now, where back then, like, you didn't have access to everything that we have now, well, like, affordably. Like, now you can get DaVinci Resolve for free. You can film on your phone. Like, if need be, you can just get a green screen. You can just like go somewhere with light, drop it behind them, like go to like a national park or something, instant production. Like you could film a full movie like on your phone and you could edit it yourself for free. So I think that there's probably a bigger greed aspect from like those venues were like, oh yeah, if you're gonna do it, like no, we're gonna charge you, double or triple or whatever, just because we need to squeeze it out of you because we know you want to do it, and it's not like back then it would be studios because studios would rent out cameras and rent out editing room time and sound recorders, and then they would be paying the bill to the venues. So it was all kind of like covered by like almost an insurance type deal, where now you do it yourself.
As I said, the problem is really when you start plugging in lights and you got to, your camera needs to be plugged in because you're going to be doing a 2-hour interview, and that's when it becomes a problem. When you're set up with gear and you're there for an hour, 2 hours for the production, that's when they want money. Yeah, if you're running around just getting quick sound ups from an artist, I don't think anybody's going to bother you. They could, but they probably wouldn't. But, when I went to film Metallica in Jersey at the time, it was the Meadowlands. I told them I would just have a camera on a tripod, a battery, and I wouldn't even bring a light. I'll just make it work with existing light. We'll figure it out. And they told me, as soon as you walk in the door with the camera, everybody in the entire crew for that stadium gets paid $50 for the hour that you are going to be filming with Metallica, which is why I had to go to Ohio Stadium to actually film with them, because it was a non-union venue and they didn't have that same rule set up. So it's crazy. A lot of behind the scenes stories like that you can't believe, but it's true. It happened.
I believe it.
Everybody in the crew. How many people in the crew? 150 times $50 each. You think I have the budget for that?
Yeah, exactly. It's like I'm shooting. I got this camera at Best Buy. Like, who do you think I am?
Right.
This is a passion project. I wasn't sent here by Universal. But that's what I'm thinking. Like, because you have guys with phones just kind of like filming this, and phones look great now. Like movies are shot. I want to say I didn't see the movie, but I heard the newest, the 28 years later, I heard that was shot on an iPhone. And
there's no doubt that you have the newest iPhone and you film Get Thrashed, like the modern version. It's going to look a hell of a lot better than the cameras I was using back then.
Oh yeah, you could get at least 720p on those phones.
I believe it, yeah.
Yeah. And so when people do show up with their lights and whatever and do all that stuff, I bet the venues do charge more because so many people can just get it for free. Because like if I'm walking behind DJ, like let's say you two are doing something, like you guys are working on some project together and I'm filming whatever it is, and I'm just there on my phone, you don't know that I'm not just like texting or like checking Twitter or something. You have no idea. But if I had a big camera that was like on a tripod and I had some lights and some flags and I had a guy with a boom holding a microphone above you, obviously that's what I'm doing. So I would believe that they feel like they lost, that's revenue that they've lost. Like Sony wanting all this for creator. It's like, well, we signed these bands for the licensing. Like that's where they probably make most of their money. How much does a band make? Or like how much does a record label make per sale of an album? I really have no idea.
I have no idea, but I'm just thinking Sony is not making a lot of money off the first two creator albums.
No, like it's not.
It's in their catalog, and they're not making a lot of money off Pleasure to Kill. This was a bit of money being thrown to them, again, that they were not willing to accept until Millet got involved and push came to shove, and I found somebody that I knew, and it's a lot of work.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a lot of work.
One of the reasons people probably, a lot of people I think don't make independent films when it comes to, music, unless you're working hand in glove with the artist, like a specific artist that you're filming a documentary on, Led Zeppelin or whoever it is. Taylor Swift. If you're working with the artist and that artist can kind of clear the path for you, there you go. But if you're just out there as an independent filmmaker trying to clear music, it's very, very expensive.
Yeah, especially for that genre too, where like you can look at it. Some of these bands have some good selling records, some like Metallica notwithstanding, but Creator probably has some records that sold very well, but not all of them. So yeah, especially like the first two, like those are basically there at that time kind of collecting dust. Like they were just kind of burning a hole in Sony's wallet. So like there's no reason to get that greedy unless you like
you got to make your money back, I guess.
Yeah,
off a brick.
But yeah, and they have your balls in a vice on that. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, you can't go to anyone else to get creators.
We're very close. The German metal section was going to be headlined by Destruction instead of Creator. That was going to be the pivot if it had to end up that way. Seriously, if we couldn't afford it, like we would have to skim over Creator and basically get into Destruction, because I definitely wanted to have a band that was sort of highlighted. Creator being the biggest one, of course, it should be Creator. But if it couldn't have been Creator because of expenses, the next up was Destruction, and who knows if we would have gotten their music cleared. But that was
then
the next.
Sodom.
Yeah.
And then Sodom. Yes, if we got to Tankard, we got to do what we got to do here to get this filmed.
Well, we couldn't get a thrash band, but we got Accept somehow.
All right.
We have David Hasselhoff. This was the only German artist we could get. Boy, yeah. Have you ever wanted to go back to like getting in the director's chair?
On that MMA pilot that I was doing for the UFL, which is United Fight League, that was directing, and that was a lot of fun. That was directing MMA fighters in the field and working with them to sort of create characters and personalities. And I say create, I'm not, making somebody something they're not. It's just trying to bring out the interesting personality traits, quirks that they have in their story, basically trying to tell the story. So directing is a lot of fun. And I had a blast last summer directing for the United Fight League. That was a lot of fun, despite it being the hottest temperatures I've ever when your car dashboard reads 118 at 2:00 in Scottsdale in the middle of August, all these things are running through my head. What if my car is stalled right now and I had to walk a half an hour to the nearest gas station? Would I actually die?
Yes.
Yes, I would. How are there not hundreds of people not stalling out, cars overheating and dying every day when it's this hot? But again, it's the stuff that was going through my head. But directing, I love directing. I don't get to do it as often as I like, just because those jobs are far and few between. But it's great. It's definitely a reward and a rewarding feeling when you are able to work with talent and shepherd them through a process, and you see it on the other end come out, and it's good. It's a lot of it's cool. It's really cool.
If you do it again, can you do me a favor? And I think this will actually help you in the future. Will you wear the stereotypical golden age of Hollywood director's pants with a riding crop and the hat too? I think if you did that, the word would get around that you do that, and then I think people would want to work with you just for. And you have to have the megaphone too. The
and
one
the chair, right? Director's chair with my name on it,
and the actual director's chair. Yes.
With somebody to carry it around and set it up whenever I'm ready to sit. Yeah.
You can have a producer do it, or that's what the assistant director is for, right? They
on
set
my
up
set.
your chair.
Yeah.
That's on my set.
I think the reputation would come out. I think they could have you directing the next Marvel movie. Would you direct? Would you direct a Marvel movie?
Sure, why not?
I mean,
I had some free time.
Well, I mean, it would just because like the headache that comes with it, like dealing with a $200 million movie and having like that many producers and like executives around. That's what I'm.
A little bit of a bigger scale that I'm used to, but if they saw something in my resume, my reel that said to them, "You're going to make this next Marvel movie because you're the guy that we have the faith and confidence in."
You wear the best pants and hat and the megaphone in the chair.
And yeah, sure, I'd do it. No problem. Sign me up.
So do you have any interest in doing like a fictional, like, or plans? I mean, interest seems like kind of nebulous, but just, let's just say, indie producer comes to you and says like, I think you have an eye for these things. Would you like to work on an indie movie? I'm trying to get something started and I have 5 scripts. Like I have a horror, a sci-fi, a fantasy, a rom-com, and a divorce drama. Like would you want to do one of those?
No.
Okay. You wouldn't want to make an indie horror movie?
I would not want to make an indie horror movie.
Or a sci-fi movie?
No, just because it's so difficult to make horror and sci-fi. I say difficult, meaning I want it to be really good. Yeah, just budget-wise, indie implies that there's not a lot of money, and
you'd get like $1 million.
Not a lot of money makes it very difficult to make something that's worthy. And honestly, I think documentaries is my passion and what I love. So I think that specific documentaries, music documentaries, people documentaries are things that I'm most interested in. So I don't know if I would be interested in doing a horror film. And I say that because, I like the music doc genre better. But I also say that because typically you're giving up, 6 months, maybe a year of your life to this. And what money is coming in? Like, everybody has to pay the bills. Mm-hmm. And if you're an independent filmmaker, I don't know if I'd be able to pay the bills the way I'm able to pay them now, working on After the First 48 and On Patrol Live and whatnot. I worry. I worry about what would happen to the other jobs, leaving them and leaving that salary in order to make an independent film. How that would change in terms of, again, mortgages and whatnot.
So the Marvel check would be like, you'd be interested in doing something where you wouldn't have to worry about scraping the bottom of the barrel just to get whatever you needed.
Exactly. If it's going to be indie anything, for me, it has to be like a passion project. And then Get Thrashed was absolutely that. Like I poured my heart, soul, and my finances into it. So to really, I know what that feels like. I know what that looks like, and I know what that financially does. So it would be very difficult for me to do that. I think, just given my current state with house and family, I wouldn't want to give up my jobs, and I would have to do that. It would take me out of the loop. And once you're out of the loop in my television production world, like that's just as well as you died. You're done. Like I can't not be in the loop for a year and then come back and say, "Hey, I'm back." No. Doesn't work that way.
Do you ever pay attention to like the Academy Awards or any of that stuff?
Yeah, I try to pay attention. Yeah.
So this is something that I thought like maybe 15, 20-ish years ago, like I was noticing, like that's when I first started picking up on like indie movies. Like those are the movies that win the Oscars. But it was more recent times that I realized they're not really indie movies because they're all still under like Sony Classic, Fox Searchlight, or like they're all like they're still studio movies. So so like the idea of like the appeal of doing an indie movie would be like, oh, like I could go on the festival circuit or win an Oscar and open the doors, but you're just kind of like, nah, no thanks.
And the indie circuit, film festival circuit was amazing. That was one of the, if not the best part of Get Thrashed, to do what was it, 30, 40 film festivals that I attended all around the world. That was one of the greatest experiences of my life. I would love to do it again at some point, but again, I want to do it with something that I'm really passionate about. And for me, I love making documentaries. I don't get a chance to do them all that often because of what I've got going with my professional life, but that's what I love doing. And if I'm going to devote, Get Thrashed, I would come home from work at 7, 8 o'clock at night. I'd work till 2 a.m. I'd get up to go to my normal job at 8 o'clock, come home at 7. And it was like nonstop for like 40 years of doing that. So I know how much it takes to do this. And you have to really, really love what you're doing to survive that. Otherwise, you won't make it through the production. So it's hard for me to imagine a horror film or sci-fi film, two genres that I love. It's just hard to imagine, financially and
keeping the lights on.
Keeping the lights on and being passionate enough to be able to see it through. It'd have to be some insanely amazing script. And again, I'm not like some, triple A plus director that everybody's looking at to direct their horror.
You're not the Requiem for a Dream guy.
No. So, I'm going to get passed over when it's, comes to financials and passion, because, I just have other stuff that I'm interested in, and I want to be able to pick and choose what I work on, like you guys do, stuff you're passionate about. That's what you want to work on.
I'm passionate about my hatred of rap and making fun of Craig Goldie.
So that sums it up.
Those are the things that I like the most, and referencing Rick Ernst, the big three.
Too.
Oh, hashtag RICKERNST.
Yeah, we talk about you a lot, Rick. We were thinking about we probably reference Rick in about like half of our episodes.
Oh, it's probably higher than that, I bet.
Yeah, all good, of course. No, but because it definitely bringing it back. It when you brought up that it was weird to us thinking about why didn't we, not necessarily we didn't ask you more about it when you're saying at the peak of metal that MTV, the word came down that just pulled the plug. It just kind of, then we thought about it, we're like, wow, wait a minute, he just gave us something.
Why didn't we dig into that?
Yeah, no. So we've been wanting to get you on for about a year. So
to jump back to that, I was there as an intern and then a production assistant, and remember how deflating it was when the word came down that Headbangers was canceled. But it's not really being canceled. We got this new show, it's going to be hosted by Jackie Ferry, who's in the music industry, and it's going to be called
I don't even know who that is.
Super Rock. And so they tried to make it different. It went from being a heavy metal show to some sort of, I don't know, rock cool, working in the Beast Boys and alternative, and mixing it because now it's going to be more like rock, and rock is encompassing of so many different things and genres and bands. It's going to be more inclusive, and it was just so confusing and so bad. So to see all that, I remember I ran to CMC. CMC was a record label that had all the bands that we loved, from Overkill to, Slaughter, right? And Warrants. Oh, yeah. And they were signing all these bands that I was just desperate to find a way to try to get them on. And occasionally there were shows where you would be able to get bands on. There was a show called Indie Outing that I was not working on, but I was helpful in connecting with CMC to get Warrant on. Warrant is on an indie outing show because they were on a small indie label, which is an incredible story in 1995 to think about Warrant from Cherry Pie and selling millions of albums. Now they're on a small little label playing tiny little clubs, and we're going to do a story about them. I thought that was interesting. But I reached out to Mark Roper at CMC, great dude who can give you some amazing stories if you ever want to talk to him. But he was the guy that I leaned on and tried to explain. I remember calling him up saying, dude, I know you probably don't want to talk to somebody from MTV, but I'm telling you, I'm like one of like a handful of metalheads here that loves the new Overkill album and loves this and loves all the stuff all these bands you're putting out. I love all the stuff you're doing. And I don't know why I'm telling you this other than to let you know I work at MTV. There are people here that care. And like, I would love to try and like get you guys on at some point, somehow, some way. I don't know how it's going to happen, but let's be friends and let's see what happens. And again, occasionally there's something would happen where I was able to get a band on. More often than not, it was me saying, "Hey, Mark, could you get me on the list for the Overkill show?" So, could I get on the bus and talk to Bobby? And those were the seeds. I didn't know it at the time, were being planted for Get Thrashed. How did you book the bands? I knew Mark Roper. I knew Blitz. I had worked with him before. Just an example of like, how I got to meet some of these bands through their record labels. But CMC at the time, when everything was going to, into the shitter with MTV in terms of metal, I remember making a connection with Mark and just saying, somehow, some way, I'm going to try and figure a way to get you guys on or mentioned or something, or at least I'm going to come to the shows, let you know that like the metal light is just like flickering and barely on an MTV, but there are people like me and a bunch of others, a handful of others here that really care and love the music. I think he was surprised. A random guy from MTV calling this little indie label. But it was a beginning of a great friendship, and it was my way of just trying to do something for the metal scene, or at least being the guy at MTV that could maybe possibly do something. So,
well, it's refreshing that you were trying, because I think everyone knows this, that there's people with connections that will just do nothing. Like, and like, we know, like, it's like, you're in a place, like, help, hook a brother up. And I wish I could. Yeah. Sorry. Like, just know it probably like was like white pilling for him to know that just, well, at least this guy cares. Is Matt Pinfield a metal guy?
Matt honestly likes almost all genres of rock.
Because that was kind of surprising.
Yes, Matt's a metal fan. Matt's a music fan first and foremost, but like he'll go toe to toe with you in a metal podcast conversation, what have you. He's surprisingly metal, because I say surprisingly because he's known as
he was on
the shows he's on and how much he knows about all these alternative bands and Bowie and, older bands, but from a, more alternative kind of genre, he knows everything about every genre, and metal is no exception.
I remember him from hosting Say What.
Say What karaoke? Was that Say What karaoke?
Yeah. Yes. I don't know if he was the permanent host. Who was the other guy? Was it Dave Holmes?
Dave Holmes, probably, yeah.
Yeah, I want to say like those were like, that's what I know, because I used to like that show, and that's what I know him from. So just like, because that was like pretty much just alternative music, or like they called it post grunge, like Eve 6, Third Eye Blind, Vertical Horizon, like that stuff.
Matt was the host of 120 Minutes. I think at MTV, that's probably his claim to fame, is that he was the host of that show, which is a show that is as storied and revered in the alternative community as Headbangers Ball is in the metal community. It's basically the same thing, just to a different genre of a different audience. And again, I was lucky enough to work on both of those shows, which, just looking back, it seems like another lifetime ago, but it was insane to be able to be at that place at that time on those shows. And I'll never forget, again, kicking and screaming, dragged from Headbangers, which had been canceled, and you're now going to work on 120 Minutes.
The enemy.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought.
This is like the story of like when you hear like Disney is hiring like H-1B workers, and then they're having people train them to replace them. that was basically you. Like, hey, Rick, I know you like this metal stuff, but yeah, we're just not going to play it. But here's the stuff that we're replacing it with. Yeah, you're going to work on that. Have fun. Ha 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 ha.
One interesting story coming over from that metal world into the 120 minutes alternative world. It wasn't that difficult of a transition. Obviously, some of the music was different. Some of it I liked, some of it I didn't like, some of it I learned to like. One of the things when I would be prepping a band, I would always tell them, like, when we ask you a question, after the show was over, after Matt was done interviewing the band, typically what we would do is myself or one of the other producers would do some Q&A with the band members outside of the TV show, so that we would have those to cut into little pieces and packages separate from the actual sit-down interview. And I'll never forget Ben from Ben Folds 5. I gave him my spiel, like, hey, Ben, I'm Rick. Nice to meet you. So when you are answering my questions, if you could repeat the question and the answer, that would be very helpful, since they're not going to hear my voice. In other words, if I ask you what's your favorite band, you just don't say AC/DC. You need to say my favorite band is AC/DC. And I'll never forget the sneering, your favorite band is AC/DC. I'll never buy a Ben Folds 5 album, because I'll never forget that moment of just being scorned and the sarcasm just dripping in the voice.
For
as
an
I tried to describe.
For just an example.
This is, again, that hair down really long hair, totally looking the heavy metal part. God forbid I throw out AC/DC in the conversation. So there's another scene story for you. You got to get Ben up and ask him about that. Why did he do that to me?
We'll get to the bottom of this.
We don't need to get him on the show. We need to do it like Chris Hansen style. Go knock on his door. Like, hi, hey Ben. You remember a guy named Rick Ernst? Yeah, well, he's got something. Oh, he remembers you, Ben.
It's more like the Jay and Silent Bob, where we track down the people.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it would end more like that than the Chris Hansen one. Yeah.
And then you'd have the other interesting, angle of it was, like, you'd have
hold on. Hold on. I don't want to leave this yet. What is Ben Folds' favorite band? If, like, you're snickering at AC/DC, which is like super inoffensive, generic, like arena rock. Like, what's his favorite band? Like Toto? Something stupid like that?
It just was. I gotta be honest with you. I was kind of seething through the rest of that.
I'm mad with you.
And he has done a lot of soundtracks. I certainly wasn't buying his albums ever, even before he insulted AC/DC.
Yeah, no one was buying his album.
But he went on to do soundtracks, and I remember he was the composer for an animated movie called Over the Hedge, which I loved, and my daughter loved, and we had great moments of reciting lines and scenes from that movie. And unfortunately, Ben wrote most of that music, so it was very difficult to kind of reconcile. I love this movie, and it's such a important thing from me and my daughter when she was growing up, and oh my God, it's this guy.
Well, sometimes you gotta separate the art from the asshole. I mean, sometimes that's just how you have to do it.
But on the flip side of it, Soundgarden comes in to do 120 minutes, because they're a perfect example of a band that was, like, in between the Headbangers Ball they did, and they also could do 120 minutes. They were on both shows. So when they would come in, I would talk to Kim Thiel, guitar player, about Seattle metal bands like Forced Entry. Like, nobody's ever heard of Forced Entry, have they? But this underground metal band, I would talk to Kim, whatever happened to these guys? You know what happened to these guys? And he couldn't have been any nicer. Was almost more interested in talking to me about that than the actual, on screen stuff where they're talking about the new album and the recording and the producer and the mix and blah, 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 all the generic questions. And I'm just some like PA just starting out asking him all these random heavy metal bands in Seattle and, where are they from and what are they up to? Did you ever meet the guys from The Accused? All stupid stuff.
Well, that's a good band. Boing.
Yeah.
Well, I think, and that's something that I do believe that we do that like no other show does. Like we don't like before that loser had his not the Toad Monster, but like before that loser had his meltdown. That was one thing I brought up because he's like, "Oh, you want me to talk about my interesting story?" And I said, "No, I want you to talk about whatever you want to talk about." Like we don't want to bring people on and like, okay, this is what you're going to talk about. This is what we're going to ask you. Like, Rick, if you want to do like a 2-hour episode just talking about Star Trek The Next Generation, like we can do that in the future. I'd be happy to do that while DJ sits there silently.
Yeah, I can't.
Occasionally interrupts with something stupid,
Exactly.
Like, I mean, I'd be happy to do that, but like, I don't want to bring someone on, like their claim to fame is a thing. Like, because I personally, I don't care about like a thing someone does. I'm more interested in the people talking about the things that makes them more comfortable, because you're going to get better. You're going to get like more interesting, more mirthful, more lively discussions that like when you like stick to the cards, then it starts to get sterile. So I'm sure like he was thrilled that you brought up these things. It's like, yes, like no one talks to me about that stuff anymore. Like when I'm doing these press tours, I have to say the same thing about the album and the mixing and the recording process.
Yeah, something a little bit.
Yeah, but like I'm still kind of hung up on this Ben Folds thing. Like, I mean, like that's crazy. Like it would have been one thing if you said like, who's your favorite band? Cannibal Corpse. Where it's like if you've never heard that, like just hearing that name, like you like a band called Cannibal Corpse. Like I can see that, but like AC/DC.
And I got to be honest with you, part of the reason I changed my approach in prepping talent was Ben's response and sarcasm. So now I'll say, DJ, when you're answering my questions, if you could just please repeat the question and the answer. In other words, if I say, what is your favorite color? You can't just say blue. You have to say my favorite color is blue.
You like blue?
Yeah. I've switched over to colors, and I haven't had anybody, give me sarcasm over color prepping.
That's wild, though.
I want. Do you still do that? Like, is that still a thing you do? Like when interviewing people? Okay, this is what I think you should do in the future, and I'm dead serious. I'm mostly joking about the director's outfit, although I do think it would be funny from your perspective, like to show up on set wearing that. I think you would have a laugh. But like, I'm dead serious. Like, you do that same thing and say, if I say, what's your favorite band? Don't say Ben Folds 5, because I want to hear when someone gives you the inevitable, your favorite band is Ben Folds 5. And they could say no one's favorite band is Ben Folds 5. That's why I said that. Right.
Well, listen, if I'm interviewing Cannibal Corpse, that would be a perfect example to do that. I actually would love to do that. Sepultura, somebody where I can get that reaction where they just that what? that look on their face.
Who? Did you make that up?
Yeah. That'll work.
Yeah, I am dead serious about that. Just throw that in there. That's it. And you'll get your last laugh. I know you want it. See, that's why you're seething, because you couldn't get your licks in because you were on the clock essentially.
I was on the clock. I also was on my way up the ladder, right? I was a PA. I couldn't say anything. I couldn't fight back.
No.
Yeah.
First fight in the Fight Club. I was going to get my ass kicked. I couldn't do much except for run away.
And I bet you listened to AC/DC on the ride home, right?
You listened to the Razor's Edge, too. You found the heaviest AC/DC song that you could get. You weren't doing Money Talks.
Yeah. See, all this stuff is just like pouring back in memories now. I'm thinking about this stuff. So
here's a question I think we did not ask the first time. What is your favorite band if you had to pick?
I think actually I was watching the last episode, and I mentioned after dissing Metallica's last album that they're my favorite band of all time.
Okay,
So
they are. Okay.
yeah, I could diss the last album, but still say that they are the
okay.
influential band in my musical journey.
Okay, so it's more like a nostalgia thing too, because I mean that's kind of where I am too, because my favorite band is Danzig, and then Danzig was kind of like that was the band where I decided like I am metal guy, I am not punk rock guy, Misfits in the past, I am metal guy now.
I mean, I think Black Sabbath and Metallica would be like 1 and 2, or I could maybe flip them.
Yeah.
Realistically for me, like Sabbath certainly was like I'm the rock guy, metal guy, but Metallica was just defining for me as like I'm not just a rock metal guy, like I'm a thrash metal guy. This heavier form of music is what I'm all about and I'm into. And the lengths that I went to buy every bootleg, every cassette bootleg, forget about every album, the given, forget about every show I could get tickets. That's the given. The lengths that I would go down to the West Village in New York City and comb record stores looking for bootlegs just because I wanted everything I could have by this band. Like I was obsessed with Metallica. And in college, I remember getting up in my music appreciation class. Everybody had to get up there and give a presentation on a band that is overlooked, that people should know more about, or just like their contribution to rock music. And everybody's going up there with the Doors and Rolling Stones and Zeppelin
and Folds.
So I went up there with Metallica and kind of blew the doors off with the Bay Area crunch and like listen to the lyrics, what they're trying to say. I mean, the whole 55 minute presentation on Metallica's importance. Again, this is probably like a precursor to Get Thrashed 10 years later, but like they were that important to me that in college I went up for almost an hour and spoke to the rest of a classroom presentation about why they're important. So I think I know those are examples of how I can't even really compare any other band as far as being my favorite and most influential. It's Metallica. Again, I don't like everything that they've done. First 4 albums for me are amazing. They've had hits, misses along the way, as we all know.
A lot of misses.
Yeah, but
mostly misses.
For me, they're definitely my favorite band, most influential band, and meeting Lars and Kirk doing Get Thrashed, as I mentioned when we spoke, the first time, they couldn't have been any nicer, kinder. Listen, they helped in whatever way.
Oh yeah.
Use their music in a little independent film, So, all things aside, they were great to me as people, and they were, I can't even measure the amount of importance they've been to me in terms of music.
See, and that's what's funny, because that does go a long way. Because I actually did meet Danzig like 20 years ago, and I thought he was actually very nice, despite like I had heard forever that he was just like super eccentric and like really arrogant and all these things about him. And I was like, I don't know, I thought he was super nice, and I thought he was really cool. And that does go a long way. Like you meet someone and that guy sucks, and like I bet if you met them and then they were just giant a-holes to you and they're like, no, you're not using our music. Like who do you think you are? It probably would have warped your perception of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, they are the biggest rock band of all time. Like it is, as far as like hard rock, not like, I mean, I know maybe like the Doors or like those other fake bands or like all that made up crap, the children of like military figures, like maybe they sold more records or something, but as far as like something with an edge, they're still the biggest band of all time. And I do have mostly negative things to say about them, because they could have done anything. They could have kept that fire burning, and that's where my hatred for them comes into play. I made a playlist for a long drive the other day for me and my girlfriend, and the first song I put on there was Battery, and she was very surprised that there was a Metallica song at all, and I was like, you know what? I never listened to Metallica, and I just figured because I never will, I'm gonna put on this one because the song is actually good. I still like some of their songs, but I would compare Metallica to Hulk Hogan.
Sure, I get
Where like you can't deny the influence and the reach that they had. Where I cannot name a single Hulk Hogan match that I would want to ever watch again. Like in fact, like one of the worst matches I've ever seen is Mania 6, Hulk Hogan, the Ultimate Warrior. Oh my god! Like if like Rick, do you ever watch wrestling? Do you like wrestling?
Yeah, I remember exactly where I was watching that match.
Okay, that match. Okay.
I would watch it again just because I was jumping up and down at my friend's house, and Hogan actually lost the belt and lost the match.
And it's funny because you can tell that he didn't want to, because after the 3 count he kicks out, like because like he clearly didn't want people to think that like he just like lost. But DJ, you should watch this match because it really, like, as an adult and not like a 10-year-old kid, it's one of the worst things you'll ever see. But like the rose tinted glasses, I think it does go a long way, and I'm not going to say like the ill things about Hogan that people had said like once he died. Like I'm still consistent on like all of his matches were crappy, but all of his promos were awesome, and I still like well, let me tell you something, me Gene. Like I still love that presentation of the like the 80s superhero, and Metallica kind of was that. Like they were the larger than life metal band, because going back to the high point for metal being like in the 80s, Metallica was pretty much the only American metal band that was selling records. Like Peace Sells, or not Peace Sells, Killing Is My Business was like mind blowing. It sold 100,000 copies, but would that have sold that well if he wasn't the guitar player for Metallica? Because we can look back and say, well, that album's like a perfect thrash album, but how many other great albums, how many records did the first Coroner album sell? Like, or how many records did Pleasure to Kill sell? Like, to Megatherion, name like classic 80s metal albums. Welcome to Hell, or Possessed, Melissa. Like great. What about Abigail, which the Family Ghost had pretty decent airplay on MTV, like not like a Virgin, but still like pretty good for a rock album. How many records did that sell? I'd be surprised if it was more than 100,000. Like I would predict 50,000, and that was good.
Listen, it would certainly be cooler to say, like Exodus is, my favorite band of all time. And I love Exodus, but like there is nobody that moved me to see the band, hear the band, buy anything that was out there by the band like Metallica. Like I'll never forget how obsessed I was with getting my hands on everything that Metallica touched. And then of course, Mustaine and Megadeth, and there was this guy who played on Metallica. Now he's in Kubla Kai. There's a band, and all these different like the extensions. I followed it every rabbit hole as far as I could when it came to Metallica. So, yeah, and I still have my flashcards from my presentation too.
That's wild.
You should have had those guys sign that. That would have been the thing to get the autograph of.
Yeah, dude, when I was interviewing them, it was all I could to just get all my questions in, because they were the big fish. They were the big fish and get the bash. Like once I was able to say, Metallica's in the movie, everybody else was in.
Yeah, and I do have to remain consistent, and I will never stop bashing Metallica. But I will tell you, I have never faulted someone for having that be their favorite band, because I understand the impact on something like this. Was like your exposure to this was the thing that opened up a world that kind of defined you. Like there are a few things in my life that were like at a time, like this is my thing. Like when I was a little kid, like my thing, like some people, it was like Ninja Turtles, or like, I don't know, pick another thing that kids like, but like my thing was wrestling. And then as a teenager, like my thing was metal, and I wouldn't have got there without Megadeth. But Metallica was still a big part of it. And now eventually I realized, like, why am I listening to Metallica when I could listen to like Exodus and Megadeth? But if I started with Metallica, who knows? Maybe I'd be like, no, DJ, you're stupid. Metallica's way better than Megadeth. I don't care what anyone says. Load and Reload they're great rock albums. They're just different. Okay? I don't care. Like Whiskey in a Jar. Wait, that wasn't on that one. What's the one like Mama Said? Mama Said is one of the heaviest songs ever written. Okay, but I do have a theory on Metallica, and I think, and I've probably said this before. I think James Hetfield is a very frustrated man, where I think he wants to do heavier stuff, like, and he really wants that '80s kind of metal heyday to like be permanent. And they're just not that band anymore, and that's why like I always see them pop up in like old stuff. Like that. Have you seen the Armored Saint documentary?
I have not. It's good.
I don't know. I haven't seen it. I saw the trailer for it because I remember hearing about it, and I was like, oh yeah, I love Armored Saint. It's one of my favorite bands. And then I saw the trailer, and I was like, oh my gosh, this looks like the cheapest thing ever made. And then I just couldn't watch it because I saw one low budget documentary in my life, and it really turned me off of just like, all right, let's watch this low budget documentary. Not that low budget documentaries are bad, but when they're bad, oh boy.
For me, when I'm like searching on Amazon Prime, Netflix, wherever it may be, if I watch the trailer about, say, Armored Saint, and I watch that trailer and there's no music from the band Armored Saint in that trailer, I know they had no money and there's no music from the band in it, and it's tough for me to watch a documentary on a band when their music is not in there. And that's why it was so important for me to have music by all these bands and get thrash. If I couldn't clear the music, it was stressful, because I knew if I couldn't clear the music, Metallica, Pantera, Creator, everything just falls down. No matter how good the interviews are, and how many photos and old videos I have, if I can't play music from these bands, people can't hear it. We don't have a movie. So for me, when I'm looking for something to watch, if I don't hear music in the trailer, I can't watch it. I just can't do it. I can't do stock music for 90 minutes when I'm watching a documentary on a band that I love. And I understand the filmmakers, love the band too, most likely, and they couldn't afford, or the band wouldn't clear the music. So there's no other option. You got to use stock music. But for me, it just takes so much away from the experience, and I can't do it. Was that the case with Armored Saint? Was there music from the band in it? Because I'll sit through anything as long as there's music from the band in it.
Now, it's been a while, but I'm fairly certain at the very, very end, it plays the chorus riff for March of the Saint. I'm pretty sure it does that at the end. Like, it may have the actual song over it, or like with the vocals. It's been a while, but I'm pretty sure at the end it does part of March of the Saint. But but it looks like they just used super cheap cameras, and like it doesn't look like it's framed well. It looked really, really low budget, but not in a charming way. Like, I don't want to like sound like I'm patronizing you with like, oh, get thrashed. Oh, it's cute. I didn't have any money, but God bless you. No. Not saying that at all. But this looks like someone who didn't know how to make a movie was just like, I love Armored Saint. I want to have people talk about him. But Metallica was featured pretty heavily in the trailer.
Yeah, you got to go. You got to, news. They say if it bleeds, it leads.
Which I refute. I don't believe that. I know they say that, but I don't believe that they believe that.
You got to go with your best stuff. So if Metallica's in your Armored Saint documentary,
that's what you got.
Their clickbait.
Yeah, exactly. It's their AI thumbnail.
But I would have put the music of Armored Saint right at the top as well. Use it as much as possible. Again, it could have been a clearance issue, but it's tough to watch a documentary by one of your favorite bands if you can't hear the music by that same band in the documentary.
Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Which was honestly, that was the reason why I watched as a younger lad the Megadeth Behind the Music so much, because it's constantly playing not just Megadeth, but like it's playing like the first two albums songs prominently.
Yeah. It completely changes and enhances the experience when you have the band's music in there, and recognizable music. So I'll have to see if I can find it though. Now I'm curious to see if I can find the Armored Saint documentary.
It could just be a terrible trailer.
It looks like it's on Tubi, because I remember they were advertising it a lot, and then I just kind of forgot about it. I did watch some fan, I guess, made like a Wasp kind of like documentary, and he went through like each album, and it's interesting. But he basically just did it from his computer, and then he would kind of patch in, old kind of stock footage of like videos of Blackie or and he kind of went through each album, and it was entertaining enough for like an hour. It was a little different, it wasn't the style of like Get Thrashed, but it wasn't bad.
But again, this is back to that, like the Da Vinci Resolve.
Yeah,
thing.
exactly.
Like, if you have you have the resources now, and then it's just a different way to do a documentary.
I've been watching some of short clips from some recent documentaries where they're using AI. They don't have a ton of footage and they don't have a ton of photos. What they're doing with AI is unbelievable.
Okay.
And a good example would be, when Ozzy passed away, there were lots of videos circulating Ozzy as a young man, and moves through a scene. He's a little older, and he moves through a scene.
Oh yeah.
You've seen some of the AI stuff. It's pretty incredible, and I've seen it applied to documentaries, and it's amazing. It almost makes me want to do another documentary utilizing AI, because it's just so incredible what we're able to do now.
Well, I think we can wrap it up on this note. So I got into another. It happens a lot. I got into a fight with someone, and they were giving us. Yeah, well, I'm not running away, so we'll give me that. But someone was giving us crap because we use AI art for our episode titles. And then they're saying like, well, you should pay someone. It's like, okay, well, we don't have the budget for that. They're like, well, people don't watch because you use AI. I'm like, I don't think that's true. I think, some people might not, but those people wouldn't be our target demographic anyway. Like that's like, porn and weed addicted Redditors. Like those are the people that think that like one day that someone's going to buy their deviant art pieces of like a dragon having sex with a car for $50,000. But how do you feel about AI? Like use of it for like low budget art, or meaning like documentary filmmaking or whatever it is.
I think it's where we're headed. It's unavoidable. So we could sit here and talk about, the artist that's not going to get paid because their work is being replaced by AI. And that's a scary thought if you're an artist. But it is inevitable. I think that's a quote from Thanos. I am inevitable.
He did say that.
Yes.
That guy is cool. I tell you, Thanos is a cool guy.
I think he is as well. And some days I'm thinking he was the good guy in the movie.
Wasn't he the good guy? I remember at the end of the movie it said Thanos will return. It didn't say the Avengers will return.
But it's really, really difficult because it's this march that is not going to stop. It's here, and how do we deal with it? It's a very difficult question. I think the first people that'll be affected are the people, that are creating logos, that are creating art. And, as an independent filmmaker, and you guys with the podcast, if you can't afford a logo or you can't afford what you need, you can have it done with AI. And it's just an incredible asset to have. The bottom line is that, you don't have budget. So there was not some person out there that was, missing out on a couple $100 or whatever it may be, because now you used AI instead. Like, you guys are probably going to make your own if you had to, because it's, just budget reasons. So I think that it's scary. I think there's a lot of unknowns out there, especially if you are a visual artist in terms of photos and design. I think the video portion of this is a step away, but you can see some of it again with the Ozzy renderings of what's to come with video. Like, you may not need sets anymore. Do you need a green screen? Do you need a studio to do any of this anymore when AI can do this all on your computer? It's exciting. It's a little scary, but it's where we're headed. So it's basically adapt or die, and it's a scary thought. It's a really scary thought for my friends out there who create art. My first choice, if I was doing, a cover for Get Thrashed Part 2, would be to use an artist, to use a friend of mine, or use somebody that I admire. If I had a band and I was doing an album cover and I could afford it, I think, a human generated art is always going to be cooler. Using Ed Repka to do your album cover is always going to be cooler than having, AI do it. But it depends on budget, So I don't know if that answers your question. It's just a big question mark.
If I had to translate that, I would say you lean more towards it being a positive than a negative, only on the grounds that eventually it's going to be pretty much mandatory.
Yeah, it's headed that way. I
think the best aspect of it is for documentary filmmakers, because then you either don't have to go out and shoot establishing shots or buy stock footage. I think that's where it will be the best.
Yeah.
Because filmmaking is expensive. And like getting stock, like establishing like a shot of like a sun setting over like a bluff, that's probably going to be like $2,000 if it's like 5 seconds.
Yeah. Yep. 100%.
Yeah, I think you can't unbake the cake. It's already out there. You can't put it back in the box.
And you would be stupid to not utilize this thing that everyone else is utilizing. Like it's already there, and it's not like if you use it, then like there's going to be some it's not like a monkey's paw. Like you get your wish. Like what would you like from Chat GPT? And then like it answers your question, and then like a dam breaks in like the Netherlands or something. Like it's not like that. It's like the servers are already running. It's already using the energy. Like that's just how it is.
Like I said, I think it'll always be cooler if you're able to use a human being to create your album or your logo, whatever. Especially like your band, you have an album cover. You certainly there are iconic album artists that we all know and love, and you're going to buy. Sometimes you would buy the album just because of the artwork, right? Back in the day,
like the story of Iron Maiden, pretty much.
Right. Let's a little bit less to that extent now, but like that's the idea. And there will always be artists out there that people will want to buy their art. What does that mean for the up and coming artists that maybe won't get that shot because
learn to code?
I don't know, but like I said, it's inevitable. It's everybody has to find a way to adapt, and it's scary. It's harsh. It's very it's almost like evolution at play here in terms of the strongest will survive and the weakest And it's not the strongest and the weakest here. It's the artists who haven't had a chance to, get themselves a name that would, be an asset to a band when they're out there selling their album artwork by Ed Repka or whoever it may be,
Yeah. Well, again, Rick, thank you so much for being with us and taking the time. I know you talked a little bit about what you're working on, but where can everyone find you and what else you got cooking for us?
Yeah, I mean, getthrash.com is still up, alive, and running. You can buy t-shirt there if you want. But these days, I'm also on rickernst.net, posting some of the, latest works that I've done. Not in the metal world; they're more like career oriented. So it'll be the police stuff I do with On Patrol Live, or it may be a video of diving with sharks in the Bahamas that that I posted up there. So those two sites are pretty much where people can check out what I'm doing. But yeah, it's working in TV production, which is still a lot of fun and interesting, and going to metal shows as much as possible.
Well, awesome. You are, we may be biased, but you are our favorite guest, and you're welcome back anytime. We appreciate you. You're a wealth of knowledge, and appreciate you. Trying to keep the flame alive with metal. Even in the past and in the future, we appreciate all of that.
Well, hopefully, Ben Folds doesn't send out his assassins to take me out, and I'll be able to be with you.
We'll intercept him before.
Yeah,
I'm sure about that.
And next time we can talk a lot more about wrestling, because I'm a huge wrestling fan as well.
Oh, that'll make AC very happy. So
yeah.
we'll have to do it sooner than later.
Right. Thanks again, guys. Appreciate it. Always great hanging and talking with you guys.
Well, it's our pleasure, and all the thanks is coming from us. So thank you again, Rick, and you, of course, stay safe out there.
All right.